What I'm really talking about is what information are you buying into? Just because there's one way that most people do things doesn't mean you need to follow it. I knew that there was an opportunity out there that another entrepreneur was making money and taking advantage of these opportunities that the traditional lenders do. Hello and welcome back. My name is Garrett Vita and I'm your host. Today I'm so excited to be talking to you about this topic, and that is, what are you listening to? What I'm really talking about is, what information are you buying into? And this refers to when you hear about industry standards or what's the standard process about doing something. And I really want to encourage you to make sure you don't always listen to what the mainstream says, what the standard is, because what I've learned through my experience is that just because there's one way that most people do things doesn't mean you need to follow it. There are other ways to get to the same result. And it sounds so easy and simple, but when you actually see it in your life, you start to see that you tend to go with the standard when you don't really know something. Let me give you an example. As you know, I'm working on my first new build development project. So there's typically a standard process for lending. And so typically with the standard process for a lender to get a construction loan is 3 new builds. For me, that's like the industry standard for experience. And so a lot of lenders told me I wasn't going to get a loan. They didn't say it verbatim, but they were indicating that I needed someone with more experience on the actual deal, aside from the general contractor. But I knew that what all these lenders said was incorrect. The reason why is because I knew that there was an opportunity out there that another entrepreneur was making money and taking advantage of these opportunities that the traditional lenders do. What I've learned is that just because there's one way that most people do doesn't mean that everyone will do it. And it's important for you when you're going into these situations, like going into a new project. Like for me, it was a new development project. I could have easily said, hey, it's my first new build. I definitely hear what you're saying. Let me go ahead and find someone with more experience on the actual title of the property. For me, I didn't do that because I knew my skills, and if I had the right GC, that I was able to get a loan. And sure enough, I was correct. Throughout that process, it's so interesting for me to see that hey, even though I didn't have the typical 3 new builds under my belt, I was able to accomplish it. And I'm glad I didn't listen to them, because it would have made my job a lot harder to do so, to find that construction loan. So no matter what, when you go into the new year, make sure that you start to see that there's a standard process, but start to really think about, hey, is there another way I can really navigate these new opportunities that I'm going into? Just because there's a standard process doesn't mean it's the one and only. There's other routes, not necessarily detours, but in our first new build there. For me, it took me a lot more calls to make, but sure enough, I did it, and I'm really proud of myself for doing that. And I wanted to share this with you because there's so many times, especially when you're into a new type of endeavor, that you really listen to people who've been in the industry, but sometimes the people in the industry don't know exactly how everything is. They only see what their brain is trained to see. So make sure that you train your brain to see all perspectives and outside the standard, so that you can really take the opportunities that are out there that others are missing, that are right there in front of you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe.